Today, I'm really excited to be here with Maria at TreePeople. We're at TreePeople. I've been here a few years before to a night hike, which we will mention in a little bit. It was amazing. They do hikes, they plant trees, and many more educational environmental things. I wrote a little intro. I'm going to read that. Today, I'll be reading my questions because they're a little bit more advanced and longer, so I'm going to be reading them. For over 5 decades, TreePeople has been at the forefront of environmental action in Los Angeles, demonstrating how community-driven tree planting, education, and long-term stewardship can transform neighborhoods, restore ecosystems, and address the growing challenges of climate change. From cooling urban heat islands to improving air and water quality, TreePeople's work shows how caring for trees is deeply connected to caring for people and the future of our planet. At Searching for Goodness, we highlight individuals and organizations who are actively creating positive change in the world. We are excited to explore TreePeople's mission, impact, and vision, and to share this important work with our audience. Here we go. My first question is, to begin, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your role at TreePeople? What drew you to this work?
I am Maria Adame. I'm TreePeople's Director of Environmental Education and Outdoor Equity. I've been with the organization for a little over 8 years. And what drew me to this work is actually that I was born here in LA, but I was raised in Mexico, where I had a lot of access to the outdoors and I really loved playing outside. But when I moved back to the US, that stopped being the case, and I could tell there was a difference, but couldn't quite make the connection for why I felt that difference and what I could do about it. I went to school thinking that I was going to become an English teacher, and while I was in school, got my first job with TreePeople as an environmental educator, leading students on guided hikes here at our park, Coldwater Canyon Park, leading the Moonlight Hikes. And it was through that work that I realized that I could have a job where I was getting to spend time in the outdoors and make a difference, especially for low-income young people of color like myself. So I decided that I wanted to try to continue to pursue the career. The organization thankfully wanted to invest in me and give me the opportunity to be here, and now I'm a leader in a field I didn't even know existed.
That's a beautiful story. I love how you found your calling. It's beautiful. For those who may be new to TreePeople, because we have audience all over the place, can you briefly share the organization's mission and what it stands for today? And when you're answering, you can look at both of these cameras too.
Okay, sounds good. TreePeople's mission is to inspire, engage, and support people to take personal responsibility for the environment, making it fun, sustainable, healthy, and safe for them to do so, and to share our process as a model for the world. I think today what that means is that TreePeople is where we're needed, and that could look like when there are wildfires, we are at the front lines of restoring the spaces the spaces that were affected by those wildfires, or when we see that there is a need for, or that there is a food insecurity in a community, we might do a fruit tree distribution. Schools that are full of concrete that affect the health of young people, we're there to green those schoolyards. So it's finding where the issues are and trying to find sustainable solutions for them.
I memorized the question, by the way. How do trees help address challenges like climate change, extreme heat, and air quality, especially in urban communities such as Los Angeles, which we have a smog problem too?
Yeah, I could go for hours telling you about the benefits of trees, but some of the most important benefits are that trees can bring down temperatures by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit in urban areas. And 10 degrees might not feel like a big difference, but it really is, especially for communities who are underserved and dealing with a lot of the side effects of extreme heat. Trees also help clean the air by taking particulate matter out of it. Using their leaves and their bark, they can capture gases like ammonia, which can be also harmful to health. And at the very basis of what they do, they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, which we need to breathe. And those are the more important ones, but the list goes on and on and on. They give us fruit, they protect us from UV rays, they prevent soil erosion, help capture water to minimize the effects of stormwater runoff in our oceans. I could go on and on.
So many benefits.
So many.
And harm is none. Basically, air quality, it helps with the getting cooler. Mm-hmm. Am I learning my lesson?
You are, yeah.
It gives more oxygen and gives us fruits.
Yeah, protects us from harmful UV rays, prevents soil erosion. So after fires, there's typically landslides, and the trees, their roots actually help hold on to the soil so that that doesn't happen too.
That makes sense. And this question is off the record. I didn't write it here, but since you mentioned the wildfires, what can be done to protect the trees? What is it that can be done in LA fires are pretty common. So
absolutely, it's a really great question and timely too. Planting native species, or at the very least climate appropriate. There are some plants, not just trees, plants like, for example, black mustard is an invasive species that can grow up to 6 feet tall, and they're considered fire ladders. So when there's a fire, if the mustard catches on fire, the fire will travel up, and then because of that, things that usually wouldn't so easily catch on fire, like the canopy of a tree, end up catching on fire because the fire travels up. So making sure that we're planting native plants that are more fire resilient is the best way to prevent wildfires.
Okay, that's great. TreePeople place a strong emphasis on stewardship and long-term care. Why is caring for trees just as important as planting them?
Well, we just talked about how many benefits the trees have, and the truth is, the bigger the tree, the bigger the benefits. So it isn't as impactful for us if we plant trees that don't actually grow. We want to give them the opportunity to grow as big and tall as possible so that we can reap those benefits. TreePeople over the last 50 years has planted so many trees. I actually can't even give you a number of how many trees have been planted. And we have a team of about 120 people. So with the size of the team that we have, we can't actually care for every single tree that we've ever planted. So we have a community-centric model. It's very volunteer-based. We try to plant trees in the communities that are volunteering to do the tree planting. That way the community has buy-in, they planted it, so they feel a personal responsibility to care for those trees. And they do the continuous care of the trees after we get them in the ground. And that is what we've found to be successful in terms of survival rate for the trees.
So just so our audience knows, again, some of the things that they can attend, you do group planting trees,
group tree care.
They can dedicate a tree.
They can dedicate a tree. You can come out to a moonlight hike and learn more about the native plants so that you can plant them in your own garden. Those are just the list of things off the top of my head.
And two activities, I remember, Fridays and Saturdays, right?
Yes, Fridays and Saturdays. Moonlight hikes are every 4th Friday of the month. and family tours every second.
With climate concerns growing worldwide, what gives you hope right now when it comes to environmental action?
Well, a lot of things, but I think maybe most, the young people that we work with as part of the environmental education program. Young people are so motivated, they're so smart, they're so driven and resilient. There are more than 100, more than 100 for sure, but hundreds of young people in LA County currently working on implementing environmental service learning projects on their school campus to make a difference. And these projects include things like planting native plants or collecting food scraps after lunch to compost. They are helping us do restoration work in the Angeles forest. And those projects, they make such a big impact. And I can't wait to see if that's the impact that they're having now. What kind of impact are they going to have when they're adults and the leaders of the future?
And you said you've been here for many years. Have you seen some of those kids growing up and
Of course.
keep doing the same thing?
Yeah, we very often have people who come to the park to visit and they'll say things like, I came on an eco tour, I remember you. Or we even had a person who, part of the tour, they plant an Italian stone pine seed. We actually had a person who brought back a 15-year-old Italian stone pine tree fully grown in a pot and said, hey, I can't keep this anymore. Is this something that I could give back to Tree People? And we had it in our nursery for a very long time, growing it and giving it care.
I'd love to take a look at that,
Yeah.
if that's possible. Love it. If our audience takes away one message from this conversation, what action would you encourage them to take support on Tree People's mission?
Part of our mission statement is to inspire people to take personal responsibility for the environment. So if I could think of something for folks to take away, would be that they take that personal responsibility. If you are tuning in from the Southern California or LA area, join us for a volunteer event. You could help us restore the Angeles forest.
Tree People places strong emphasis on stewardship and long-term care. Why is caring for trees just as important as planting them?
Trees have so many benefits, but the benefits increase with the size of the tree. The bigger the tree, the bigger the benefits. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that all the trees that we get in the ground have the opportunity to grow as big and as tall as possible. And we can't do that on our own, because over the last 50 years that Tree People has been around, we've planted so many trees. I actually can't give you a number of how many trees we've planted. And we're only a team of 120 people. So it would be really hard for us to take care of every single tree that gets planted. So we rely on volunteers and community members to come out and help us do that work. And the best way to do that is to include them in the planting process, because then they feel ownership over the trees. They planted them, they're going to care for them. And that's how we ensure that trees have as high a survival rate as we can give them.
That makes sense. That does make sense. With climate concerns growing worldwide, what gives you hope right now when it comes to environmental action?
The students that we work with are actually what gives me the most hope. Young people are so motivated, they're so passionate, they're so resilient and smart, if I'm being completely honest. And we work with so many students across LA County, hundreds of students who implement environmental service learning projects on their campus in hopes that they can make a difference in their community. Some of the projects include collecting food scraps after lunch to compost. They install water catchment systems to prevent rainwater from running off into the ocean, carrying pollutants with it and harming marine wildlife. They recycle, they install native plant gardens on their campuses. And these projects are incredibly impactful. So it makes me excited and hopeful to know that if these students are making such a big impact today, I wonder what kind of impact they're going to make when they're adults and they're the leaders of our future.
That's true. That's true. It's amazing. That's really good that you have that program starting from childhood. It's searching for goodness. We love building long-term relationships with organizations we feature. Are there ways you see Tree People and Searching for Goodness potentially collaborating in the future? Even though with our small crew, I'm sorry we had hardships here.
No worries. I think that what you're doing is already incredibly helpful because we are so volunteer-based and the work that we do cannot have the impact that we want it to have without volunteers. It's so important for us to be able to get the word out about the work that we're doing and to invite people to engage with us and with the work that we do. So providing us this platform where we can share some of that is really, I think, going to make such a big difference. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure. What types of partnerships or media collaborations are most meaningful to Tree People as you continue expanding your impact?
If I'm thinking about it from the environmental education and outdoor equity perspective, I mean, historically, we have been working with a small group of champion teachers that we reach out to consistently over and over again to get them involved in what we do. And that's great. And we really value those long-term relationships that we have with them. But one of the new things that we've been thinking about and trying to incorporate into what we do is equity, and wanting to create access for students and teachers who haven't had the opportunity to participate in our programs in the past. So one of the biggest ways that I think we could do that is, again, getting the word out, making sure that they're aware and that they know about our programs, but also collaborating with school districts who can give us access to a large group of students and teachers who maybe haven't participated in Tree People's programming or similar programming.
Very cool. And in terms of Searching for Goodness, it's great you're doing this with schools and everything, but this podcast has a goal, as I told you, of record. We have a goal of turning this into a movie and a world travel series as a hybrid of fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah.
So home is our planet is our home, our only home, like they say. And as you are trying to help people with planting trees and environmental activities with kids, which is all amazing, everything you told me. I'm so happy to feature you because Searching for Goodness, I did find goodness here. You're doing goodness, literally, be it for people, be it for nature. And our project wants to be able to reach out to more masses. Right now, as you see, we're very small. We have very small resources, very small budget, but we're trying to keep going, volunteer-based.
Yeah.
We're also right now volunteer-based, but we do want to grow. I want to make it to a feature film. I wrote a film, and each continent has another movie, starting in Antarctica, then going Asia, Europe, North America, South America, all over the place. But of course, we need funding, and funding is a tricky part. Even though we have the film degrees, we made films, and this and that's the hard part. A friend of mine gave me a suggestion one time. He said maybe we could do something where it can be an environmental thing, also support for your project. People can contribute, half of it goes to the organization to plant trees and anything they'd like to use, and the other half goes to the movie, to turn this into a movie. And I thought it's a great idea, and it's my first elevator pitch. Just something like a little seed to plant in your mind, because we plan to go with this podcast 2 more seasons, and in the meantime, I'm going to be working on some more pitch deck presentations and all that. But just as a seed, it can be in the back of your mind that Tree People could be a partnership to this project. This is a proposal, a little proposal for the future.
Well, it sounds like a great idea.
Because I feel like on one hand, we could be helping the nature by half of the it going to planting more trees and maybe for activities, and the other half could be making a movie that can reach out to more people in more places all over the world doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to inspire people from all over the world to do what you're doing.
Yeah, climate issues are real here and everywhere else. So I'm sure that it's not off the table.
Okay, that's very good to hear. Thank you. That was my last bit. I wanted to take it out of my chest. We really appreciate your time here. It was beautiful to sit here in this beautiful nature. Right now it's quiet, only birds chirping. So just let our audience know, you can tell this camera on this camera, tell them how can they reach you, where do they find you, if they want to volunteer and everything, how do they do it?
Well, thank you. Before I address the audience, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share about the work that Tree People does as an organization and how we're hopefully doing good. But if you'd like to get involved in what we do here at Tree People, you can go to treepeople.org and check out our volunteer page. There's a button right on the main page that says volunteer with us. So you can click that to find a list of all of the events that we have, or you can search treepeople.org/education if you're specifically interested in our education offerings.
Okay, now I'm gonna turn towards them too. We say together, this is the slogan of our show, goodness will win.
Okay.
And if you can tell our audience to subscribe or search for goodness and keep watching us.
Sounds good.
That. Okay. So let's do it together.
Wait, what was it?
Goodness will win.
Okay,
Let's
goodness will win.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Goodness will win.
Tree People and searching for goodness together.
Look up Searching for Goodness, subscribe, listen.
Yes, you can watch it on YouTube, and you can also find us on audio podcast if you'd like to listen while you're driving. Have a good day or night, everyone, wherever you are. We love you. Just a little heart to them too. We love you. Bye. We'll be back. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, so this is our watershed garden. It's a demonstration of how water moves through both a natural watershed and an urban watershed, and how the urban watershed moves a little bit different and carries water into our oceans that is also carrying pollutants with it. So we do have some native plants here and our model ocean. So this is meant to sort of mimic what the ocean looks like. It's connected to our little stream right over there. This is a California buckwheat right here. And then we have what we call our Sustainable Solutions home to the left and our Urban Urgencies home. So the Urban Urgencies home showcases how water moves in the urban watershed. And the Sustainable Solutions home shows what we can do in our urban watershed to help water move a little bit more similarly to the way it does in the natural watershed, carrying fewer pollutants with it to the ocean, and allowing more water to infiltrate into the ground for plants to benefit from.
You mentioned about the tree earlier. Are we able to see that?
Unfortunately, no, because it got so big for the pot that we had to donate it to a family who could plant it in the ground.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
But I can show you our conference center.
Okay.
Our conference center was the second LEED certified building in LA. And LEED certification essentially states that it is completely off the grid. It has no environmental impact, except obviously positive ones. So it was built using planks of wood. You see there's some holes on the planks of wood. They those boards were actually from an old fire station that was here before this was Tree People's headquarters. And it also makes use of shredded denim inside of the walls as insulation instead of the typical fiberglass insulation that is used. That helps retain the coolness inside the building so we don't have to use items or like turn on the heater or the air conditioning, which is a power efficiency tool. You also can tell that the building is slanted, the rooftop is slanted, which means that when it rains, the water is going to hit the highest point, travel downward, and there's a spigot on the right hand side that allows the water to fall off of the rooftop and get collected underground. I know this doesn't look like much, but we're standing above a 216,000 gallon cistern that collects rainwater when it rains, and we can use that water to irrigate the plants around the park, but also can be used to put out a local wildfire if that were to be the case.
Do you want to show the conference room?
Yeah, of course. It's right in there. Actually, I'm not sure if I have the key. Some interpretive signage about it.
Anything else we can see? Is that where people meet and do the music thing over here?
This is where we do the air station. Part of our eco tours, when students come over to our park for a field trip, this is where we talk about air and the reciprocal exchange of air between trees and humans. Trees, as I was saying in the interview, produce oxygen that we breathe in, and we produce carbon dioxide, which coincidentally the trees take in. So this is where the students sit down for us to talk about that relationship. And this tree is a valley oak.
Tell them to sit here for a minute.
Where am I sitting? Okay.
Tell them here for a minute.
Yeah. This tree is a valley oak. The valley oak is actually the tree that inspired the Tree People logo. So if you ever see the Tree People logo with the 3 little leaves in a circle, they're valley oak leaves.
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool information.
Yeah, and so we call this celebrity tree. It's a celebrity because it's where our logo is from.
Oh. Yeah, I remember this tree scene from the logo.
Yeah, so that's that tree.
Okay, are there any other trees or anything over there?
Over that way, let's see. Yeah, I can show you.
Cute. I like this. I always love tours.
Oh, I'm glad. It's what we do. We get tours. So you've come to the right person for this.
Now take us on a little hike.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a little
What
hike.
is this thing here? Just a sitting spot?
Yeah, it's just a sitting spot. One of my favorite plants at Tree People is the wild cucumber. This is the wild cucumber. This right here. It is a vine. It is a native plant. It's incredibly wildfire resilient because the roots are so large that when a fire sweeps over the land above, the roots don't get as damaged because there's so much of the root. It takes much longer for the flames to damage it. And so after wildfire, these tend to be some of the first plants to resurface afterwards, the wild cucumber. And it does give a fruit. So if you look here, this is the cucumber itself. Right now it's soft, but once it matures, it will be very prickly. It's not edible. As a matter of fact, it can be toxic to humans, but our wildlife does enjoy eating the wild cucumber seeds.